So here's Registax. In our last video we made a stack from this video here in AutoStacker. This is the AutoStacker folder that we used. And now we're going to take Registax. You hit select, you find the folder that it was in, double click on it and bring it into Registax. So that's our stack TIFF. Click on show full image so that you can see it larger if you want. There are several ways that people do processing in Registax. A lot of people use Gaussian, and it's just a trial and error on these wavelets. There is no magical setting that'll work for yours or mine, or even night to night, or even stack to stack. You're going to have to change it up, and you're going to have to figure out what works best for you. Now, one thing that you don't want to do is you can just go crazy on these sliders, and what you're going to end up with is something that looks more like a painted picture as opposed to a nice natural picture of Jupiter, and you don't want that. The great thing about Registax is there's always a reset button somewhere to where you can reset it and start over again, or you can just pull your sliders back or whatever you want to do. So basically just play around with this and see what might work best for you and your stack. If you have a lot of good frames in your stack, it will take to these wavelets and sharpening a lot better than if you have very few frames, or if you have a lot of let's say not so good frames in your stack. It won't take as well. What'll happen is you'll start getting artifacts in here. You'll get onion ringing. Sometimes you'll get lines through it. Sometimes you'll get a halo around the planet, and you want to try to push this to bring out as much detail as you can, except you don't want to introduce all those artifacts. Another thing that I like to do is give it an RGB balance, and that will correct any maybe color issues that you have in it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. You can take stuff out, you can put stuff back in, and you can also I tend to image a little low on the histogram side. I like to do a 50% histogram to keep my frame rate up. So in processing, I have to stretch things to lighten up the picture a little bit. And you want to be careful how much you stretch it, because if you stretch it way too far, you're going to blow out the inside, all your light and white areas. And once again, here's a reset button. You can reset it and start all over. And you can lighten up your picture if it's dark. Just be careful how much you stretch it, because once your colors go past the end here, you're starting to lose detail by blowing out the whites. Another thing that you can do is you can hit the sharpen, which will give you a little bit more sharpen. The problem with these is they will introduce artifacts as well. You have to be careful with these. And sometimes a lot of people, they'll kind of push the sharpen a little bit too far, and then have to hit a little bit of denoise to take that grain out of it that will come into your picture. Now, once you're happy with it, all you have to do is hit do all, and then save image. And let's go ahead and write Gaussian on this one. And let's go ahead and save that. Now it'll save right back in the same folder that you took your stack TIFF from. Another thing that people like to do is, let's go ahead and reset these wavelets, and let's look at default. I've had some really good experiences with default wavelets. I know a few guys that use it, and it tends to be a little bit more aggressive wavelet wise, but and it's a little bit grainy, and then I have to take it from here to another program to kind of smooth it out a little bit, but it's actually worked out pretty well on a few of mine, and I highly suggest trying it sometime and seeing how it works for you. So let's play around with these a little bit and see what we can come up with. Okay, so like I said, these are a little bit more aggressive wavelets, and it can tend to leave your planet a little grainy, but once you're happy with it, you can hit do all, and then you can click save image, and let's write default on this, and then we'll go ahead and save it. Now let's take a look at these two pictures that we made. Here's our default. Let's blow this up a little bit, minimize, and let's hit Gaussian, the Gaussian one. We'll blow it up a little bit. And what I like to do is I like to kind of flip between the two and see which one I like. Now this one here is probably a lot more natural, more like what you might see through the eyepiece. This one here is a little bit more aggressive, but it's all in personal taste and preference on which one that you like. Some things that I do like to do is I will use another program. Let's get out of Registax. Let's go to Image Analyzer. Now I use the free version of it. I don't have the paid version of it, but it really has a pretty good what do you call it, let's open the default one. It has a pretty good smooth feature, so if you're not happy with the graininess, you can go to filters, and you can smooth it out some, you can smooth it out less, you can smooth it out a lot. Let's take a look, and if you click on the original button, it'll show you what you originally had and what you don't have. So here it is. If I smooth it out way too much, that was the original, that's what I have now. So what I like to do is, especially with the default ones that tend to be a little bit grainy, is I like to smooth them out just a little bit, just to take that grain out of there. And once you're happy with it, you can click OK. And then another thing I like to do is give these a little bit of saturation, just to kind of bring out the colors a little bit more. You can click your original, maybe give it just a tad more. That's original, saturated, and just to give it a little bit more color, at least for me. And once you're happy with that, you can click OK, and then you can save. And let's go ahead and save that as Image Analyzer. Save. Now let's click out of that, and let's go ahead and bring up our, that was the default one that we did. Let's pull up the Gaussian one. Let's enlarge it a little bit. And the neat thing about this program is it remembers the last filter that you used. So if you go to like the adaptive smooth and sharpen, it will smooth it to the last setting that you used. So if, like, say if we want to do apples for apples, this is what the exact same smooth that I used on the default. So I can click OK, and if I hit the saturation, it'll bring up the same saturation that we used on the last one. So let's click OK on that. Let's save that, and we'll save it as image analyzer. We'll save. Now let's go back in our folder, and here is our default image analyzer. So let's blow that up a little bit. And then here is our Gaussian after the image analyzer. Blow that up. And then we can just kind of blink in between the two and see. Let's just take a look and see which one we like. Now, on this one here, I like that I have a little bit more detail in the eye. And it looks like I've got a tad more detail in the clouds as well. It's a little bit more pronounced. But like I said, there are more aggressive wavelets on that default one. This one here may be a little bit more natural, and you may like that. That may be your thing. Is I want it to look like what it looks like through my eyepiece, and if that's the case, then this would be the one that you would like to use, which is fine. As long as you're happy with it, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what other people think. So that's just a quick process of the same TIFF that we made in the last video. And I just wanted to show you a couple of different ways that you can process your Jupiter pictures. You're going to do Saturn a little bit differently, and lunar you're going to do a lot differently as far as stacking and processing goes. But there you have it. And I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and we'll have a few more on Saturn and lunar stacking and processing videos later. And have a nice day.